Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So for today's episode, we are talking with En and Sofia. They are dancers, educators, and artists based in the New England, Massachusetts area. All their information and links to things they talk about is down below. Also, go ahead and like and subscribe to today's content. Comment down below anything that you want me to do next, or people you want me to interview next, or just anything that you're wondering about the dance world. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Can you first introduce yourselves and where you're from?
Yeah, I'm Papineau. I was born in Springfield, Massachusetts, and then moved to Portland, Maine around the age of 8. And now I live in Northampton, Massachusetts, and I've lived here for about 4 years.
I'm Sofia Engelman, born and raised in Cambridge, Mass. And then I moved to Northampton for college, and I'm still here, and this is my 6th year living in Northampton.
And I do want to acknowledge that the land that we're on currently is the land of the Nipmuc and Pecumtuck people.
Cool, thank you. Can you both briefly explain your movement journey and then how you guys ended up working together?
So when I moved to Portland, Maine, I began dancing at this amazing studio called Cascaway Movers in Portland. And I started in a beginning modern class. From there, my love of dance just grew to the point where I would be taking 6 classes a week as a middle schooler. Then I joined the pre-professional dance company that's housed at Cascaway Movers called Portland Youth Dance. And something that I value from that time was we did this outreach program where we would go to elementary schools in the area and just teach classes an after school activity. And it taught me how to teach at a young age, and really I value that, and that helped me get jobs now because I have that experience. And then I went to Bates Dance Festival, and that's when I was yep, I'm going to be a dancer, because that was we were staying at a college campus, and it was dancing all day for 3 weeks. Oh, it was grueling, but very rewarding. And then at Bates Dance Festival, I heard about Smith College. Then I applied to Smith. I got in, and then that was my introduction to the professional dance world.
I want to add, you started dancing even younger than that. I love your stories, because before you moved in with family in Maine, and when you were living in the Springfield area, and would walk alone as a young child to dance studios in the area and just go to the dance classes.
I'm taking this now. And you're where's your mom? What are you doing? So I did do that.
Let's see. My mom's a visual artist, and so I grew up with the arts a lot. And also, I was not a physical kid at all. I like to read and I like to write. And then eventually I started acting a little bit, and I realized that I liked performing, but I didn't necessarily like memorizing lines. And basically, I think just because I didn't want to play sports anymore, and my family wanted me to be doing something active, I started dancing. That was really the whole reason. I was oh, I kind of really like this. This is kind of visual art and poetry and acting all put together in this whole other way. I guess it would have been 2 or 3 years before Em went to Bates. I went to Bates as a 14-year-old.
We just missed each other. Ships in the night.
We both ended up going a couple summers, but it was different summers, and I was right before. But my first summer when I was 14, Kyle Abraham was there teaching rep. The way he demonstrated how you could use dance to talk about real life things just sort of blew my mind, and I just fell in love with it. And so I kept going back to Bates, and I ended up going to Smith.
But the funny thing is, because we have so many connections, we had so many mutual friends before from the Bates world, and from just the contemporary dance world is really small anyways in New England, so everyone gets to know each other. But one of my teachers growing up, I was working at a coffee shop the summer before I went to Smith, and she was oh my gosh, Sofia Engelman is at Smith right now. You have to work with her. You have to check her out. She's incredible. And so I had your name in my head subconsciously. But then we were in an audition together. It was the first audition of college. And Sofia and I
were 2 years apart in school.
Yeah, but 1 year apart in age.
Yeah.
But so Sofia was a junior and I was a first year. And we were partnered up for this like audition to do this like lifting thing, and it was like magic. Like I had never been, no one could lift me ever because I was always like the like burly, like, oh, like I was always the person that like lifted all the like skinny girls in ballet.
That was
like,
me too.
Yeah. And also, like, you were just such a great like you knew how to be lifted too. It was just perfect. Like it was just like it was like the perfect partnering experience. And so then I was like, we have to like work together. We have to be together.
And that was that.
And that was that right away. It was like the first weekend of college.
That's amazing how like things can just like align, when you're in your right place at the right time,
Yeah.
What were some of the major challenges you've had to overcome with dancing and being an artist?
I feel like showing our choreography that we performed together, our duet, professionally while we were both in college, and then just also as young people, just always felt really complicated within the academic department that we were both in for a while. There was just a lot of hierarchy in that program because there was also a grad program connected to it, and also it's like a university that likes to talk about how elite it is all the time, and like that's how it functions.
Right, that's how it gets money. It's like, look at us.
And so the hierarchy in that department, and then also just I think as young people in the field has been really difficult in figuring out how to navigate that.
We talk a lot about young people's oppression, which not a lot of people think about, but especially in the dance world, it's really hard to be taken seriously as a young artist. People don't think that your story is as potent or as meaningful, whatever, as some older, wiser dancers. And so a lot of the time as we were applying to show our workplaces, and we would always get rejected. So we were like, like, what is this? And so then we started taking student off of our applications, and we stopped saying that we went to Smith. We didn't put our age anywhere. And then all of a sudden, it was like the doors were open. Like we were showing in New York, San Francisco, Germany. Like,
and we weren't lying. We just weren't including this like weird thing.
Right. And then we started thinking like, what the hell is that? Like what? Like why? What about our age, about our student status, make our work use like?
Yeah, and I think it's this thing of like, oh, if you're younger, like you don't know what you think you know, and like assuming that whatever growth people have personally experienced during their life is like applicable to everyone else's journey.
I was just gonna say like that's real, and I never even thought of that until you said it, because I've definitely had experiences where I would go for like dance jobs. I remember one in particular, I'm in Cleveland, so it was like ballroom type dance. And they were new, like they just moved in, they were from the South. So they didn't really have anybody. And so I came in, black with locks, and they were just like, how old are you? And where do you live? And do you have a car? And like all this stuff. They were trying to put me through all these hoops. Like, you got to do this before we can do that and all this stuff. And I mean, do you have a car? I mean, I guess, you want to make sure that your teacher is reliable. But I have a degree in this and I have all this experience. And I was like, you know what? Never mind, because I don't have to prove myself. And then there's race involved and all that stuff. So I was just like, y'all do you. Good luck.
Yeah.
I feel like there's this thing of like being young is something everyone goes through. And I think it's frustrating actually for everybody. And so then when people get older and they have more leadership roles,
they're like,
or power,
I'm
or
20 years old. I have 20 more years of experience than you.
Well, or like whatever the thing is, they're just like, well, like I had to prove myself, so you should have to go through that as well,
Oh, yeah.
instead of breaking that cycle.
Yeah, that's real.
Who are you rooting for tonight?
I'm rooting for everybody black.
I'm interrupting today's interview for our RFB Rooting for Black series, where I highlight a black organization that is doing really good work today. And today's organization is Drew Christian Fabrics and Design, based here in Papineau, Ohio. and also I'm working for them. So through Christine, she does a lot of design and classes on how to sew and alter, things of that nature. So if you're interested on how to kind of be handy and make alterations to your clothes, or if you want a unique design for a specific occasion, you can go ahead and find her information in the description below. All right, let's go back to the interview.
So what is something you wish you knew earlier in your movement journey that you know now?
I wish I knew what hypermobility was. Hypermobility is defined by an overextension or overstretching of like connective tissue in one or more or all of your joints. You can be born with it, or it can be acquired through European dance forms such as ballet, because it's actually an aesthetic. There's the ballet aesthetic of like hyperextension. I think I've acquired it through my training as a young dancer, and it is messing up my life now. I remember being like pushed into like stretches. I live in chronic pain because of it, and I want everyone to know that you do you. You do not have to have a super long extension. You don't have to like have your whole body touch the floor in a straddle, and that those aesthetics are just harmful for not only your body but for self-esteem and self-confidence, and it will affect you. Basically, if you're stretching the connective tissue, you're weakening muscles on the other end. It's shifting things out of alignment. I have chronic hip and lower back pain from a hyperextension of the lumbar spine. I have these things called growing pains, which up until recently I thought they were growing pains, but I was
like, you're 21, you don't have growing pains.
And so when I learned about this, I was like, oh, I've talked to some specialists, and they were like, no, that's very common with people with hypermobility. Like, that's not a growing pain. Yeah, that's what I wish I knew, is that how to take better care of my body and how to trust my body, respect my body, respect its process and its journey, and not try to speed things up just for an aesthetic.
Yeah, I think that actually relates to the thing I was going to say, which was just knowing that it's okay to advocate for myself. And I think that relates to experiences you might have had.
Yeah.
Being pressured to stretch.
Wow, y'all are preaching early on a Friday morning. The last question that I have is, are there any new projects that you want others to check out?
So, at the beginning of the pandemic, our friend Anna Maynard came to us and was like, we're losing jobs because we're freelance artists and we won't be able to teach. And people are losing money, so they can't take $20 yoga classes online. What are we going to do about this? We started Free School, which is a virtual platform for dance classes on Zoom. We started with 2 or 3 followers, and now we have like over 3,000. We've had over 400 classes, maybe.
Around 400 classes. There's been over 60 teachers since March. There's classes just about every day. We have about
like 20 to 25 classes a week at this point, and it's called Free School because it's a sliding scale, but no one is turned away for lack of funds. So basically, we wanted to provide accessible dance classes for people, and we wanted to provide income for artists like us who are losing it in this time.
And we haven't actually taught through it. We've just been supporting other people, and like some of the classes, you don't have to pre-register, so you never know how many people will show up. So sometimes there's 2 people and sometimes there's 40. You don't know.
Yeah. And so that is at Free School, FreeSkewl on Instagram. And that's where you can get the weekly schedule, upcoming classes. We've had a performance series that's launched last week.
And there's an artist talk series starting next week. And we also just completed the first month of our reparations initiative. So non-Black, non-Indigenous artists take 10 to 60% of their class proceeds and put them in this fund. And then through this sort of like claims, shares, tipping system, that money is distributed to Black and Indigenous artists based on how many classes they taught that month. Every once in a while, we've been able to like put our work up online for different things. And you can follow us on Instagram at fake_choreogra_queers.
So it might take a little finagling, but be patient. It's a long handle. Fake_choreogra, like choreography. It's spelled that way, _queers.
Do you all have any lasting words?
I just want to say, be gentle and tender and kind with yourself during this hard time.
And thank you for inviting us.
Absolutely.